everyone, welcome to a brand new video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it. In today's video, I am going to be talking about my top 10 favorite Amazon gardening essentials. So these are all going to be things that have really drastically helped me with my gardening and landscaping projects, and I would say it's going to be a good mix of items that are both for beginners to all the way to advanced gardeners. I wouldn't say I consider myself a beginner gardener anymore, but I'm definitely not advanced. I'd say I'm somewhere in that intermediate range. So like I said, there's going to be something for everyone in here. A lot of these are going to be things that were great for starting off when you're gardening, landscaping, you're not ready to invest a bunch of money yet. So these are going to be some great things for that, as well as things for streamlining your workflow process, keeping yourself protected, and just overall a collection of items that I can highly recommend for anyone who is a gardener. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Annie and I make videos about gardening, plants, and home related content. So if that is your jam as well, I would love for you to consider hitting that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's jump into my top 10 Amazon gardening essentials. First one I want to talk about is this garden tool set here. This was one of my very first gardening purchases when I first started working out in my yard and wanting to plant things. It's a very good beginner basic toolkit, and because the price is very budget friendly, it's obviously not going to be the highest quality of tools, but they are great for starting out and figuring out what tools you prefer to use. You can experiment with them, figure out what your favorites are. I've had my set for maybe 4 years now and they're still kicking. A lot of them are beat up and rusty, but the metal will get bent, but they definitely get the job done. I also love that everything comes in this nice little carrying bag so you can tote them around your yard if you want to. And the other thing I especially love is they come with garden gloves as well. Is it just me, or does anybody else out there feel like they're constantly losing and misplacing their gloves? Because I feel like that happens to me all the time. So the variety of tools you're going to get in here is going to include a couple different trowels, a hand rake, a cultivator, pruning shears, a little mister, digging claws, which actually I don't think came with my set when I first bought them, so that's a great extra. So like I said, this is a great just little starter pack kit, literally, and it's also just great for experimentation, so you can pick and choose through the tools, figure out what you really prefer using, find yourself grabbing the most, and then choose if you want to make any upgrades from there. Still in the same category of garden tools, one of my absolute favorite tools is a hori-hori knife. Now, if you don't have a hori-hori knife, I cannot recommend one enough. And if you choose to buy any one thing from this video recommendation, I would say this is it. This tool is an absolute game changer. It actually is a really good replacement for many of those other garden tools I just showed you for. It kind of just is based on your personal preference, but the main thing that I love about a hori-hori knife is the serrated blade edges, which makes this tool perfect for dividing root balls or splitting up established plants. It works like a charm for hostas. I use this thing all the time. It also has some measurement increments on the tool, so when you stick it in the ground, you can see exactly how deep your hole is. So that's very useful for planting bulbs. This is a great tool that a lot of people don't have, so I can't recommend it enough. Get yourself a hori-hori knife. Next item that I'm going to talk about is this repotting tarp. I've actually only had this for a few months, but this thing is really great for what it does, and it only costs around, give or take, $7. I had been wanting to build like a really nice wooden potting tray for a while now, and I just like haven't gotten around to it, but this potting tarp works just as well. It's lightweight, it's easy to clean, it's waterproof, you can move it from inside to outside, and it has been especially great for me in the winter time working inside with my houseplants. So it really helps, you know, keep you from wasting any of your soil and spilling soil all over your table or countertops or wherever you're working. It's just such a handy little tray to have, and it would be great for indoor houseplant lovers as well as outdoor gardeners alike. Next, I am going to talk about this garden visor. The more I work outside, the more I realize how important it is for me to stay on top of protecting my skin from the sun. And any of you other gardener, landscaper, outdoorsy people watching this, need to make sure you're protecting your skin from the sun as well. Outside of SPF daily on your face and body, using a hat or a visor is also really important. I ended up getting this straw visor last summer, and it's perfect for protecting my face and keeping the sun out of my eyes, so I don't have to worry about sunglasses and them falling off my face when I bend over. The key component about this little visor hat that I love specifically is that it allows for a high ponytail or top knot. I obviously have long hair, and if I'm working outside, I almost always have my hair up, which can be problematic for wearing like regular baseball caps. So this little visor wrap thing is super great for that. Got this adjustable Velcro closure for all different size noggins. Next item I'm going to talk about are Sloggers. So if you watch my videos regularly, you've probably seen me frequently slomping around in my Crocs in my garden, which I do. They are fine, and they are a very well-loved, albeit ugly, shoe that people like to wear for a reason. Understandable. But before I ever owned a pair of Crocs, I had a pair of Sloggers, which I no longer have because I ended up completely just demolishing and trashing them after a few years because, you know, you wear them outside and they get beaten up. But once my current pair of Crocs wears out, I think I'm going to replace them with another pair of Sloggers. And here's why I prefer the Sloggers over the Crocs. The Crocs are really lightweight, which I do like, but they have those holes in them, which is great for aeration when you want your foot to breathe. But if you're out in the garden watering and like walking around in mud and dirt, the holes are not helpful. Sloggers do not have those ventilation holes. They are much more like waterproof. Like if you're wearing your socks under there, you're not gonna get little saggy feet. I understand that those ventilation holes on Crocs are important for lots of different applications, but when you are wanting to keep your foot dry and waterproof, I definitely recommend the Sloggers over them. Next on the list that I'm gonna talk about are garden augers. I think I got my first auger about 2 or 3 years ago, and if you are serious about gardening, this is definitely worth the investment. It is such a game changer when it comes to saving time, saving effort, and saving the pain and stress on your body. So once you spend any significant amount of time digging in your landscape to plant bulbs and or annuals, you can understand how daunting it can be on your body. Augers make the process of mass planting so much quicker, especially if you have a dense clay soil like I do, which can be very difficult to dig up by hand when it's wet especially. Most of these augers attach easily to just regular drills, but they definitely make more of a mess when they kick the dirt everywhere when you're using them. But I would say that's not a huge deal to me, depending on the job application, if it's going to make your process go that much faster and save you energy and time. So I own a few different sizes of augers, and mine are all smaller. I have a wider one for annuals and a more narrow one for bulb planting. But something I would love to invest in this year is one of the taller ones, so you can use it while you are standing up and you don't even have to be bothered to bend over. I think that's the dream of making any mass planting project go by as quick as it possibly can, especially if you are working on your own and don't have help. And then with that being said, since I don't have currently any standing use augers, I am still crouched down on the ground using the drill. And when I first was starting out gardening a few years ago, I didn't think twice about the pain and like stress that it can put on your body when you're crouched over in all these different positions and on your knees. So something I actually just picked up this summer was a knee pad. And I will say I actually use it more of as like a butt pad than a knee pad, since I prefer to sit like crisscross applesauce when I am out working in my garden beds. But it's just such a helpful little thing to have to help you keep your body from getting sore. And then the next item I'm going to talk about are long garden gloves. As I mentioned before, a gardener can never have too many pairs of gloves since I'm always losing them. But in my opinion, the best ones that I've started using are the longer ones that come up to my elbows. So I have a tendency to get some mysterious allergic reactions to some different plants. And last summer, I got absolutely annihilated with some form of plant poisoning, which I think may have been Virginia creeper. Not everyone is allergic to Virginia creeper, but some people do have a reaction to it, like it's poison ivy or poison oak. And I think that's where my breakout rash started. So right after this happened, I made sure to go and invest in a pair of gloves that have those longer sleeve protections. And I do definitely think this has helped me this far. Besides just making sure I'm not touching weird things without these gloves, I also make sure I clean my hands all the way past my elbows really well to try to avoid any more of these crummy allergic reactions. Knocking on wood that it's not going to happen again this year, because I definitely was struggling last year with that. And a bonus item related to this that I want to mention are some garden arm sleeves. I just got a pair of these for Christmas. I already know I'm going to get a ton of use from them already this summer. It's just more protection against thorny plants or anything that's poisonous, anything I might be allergic to. Plus they're extra UV protection against the sun, and the fabric on them is like breathable, lightweight. You can't even feel that they're there. It's not like you're wearing a long sleeve shirt or anything. Also great for protecting against bugs and ticks. So I'm very excited to get these popping off this summer. Next up, I'm going to talk about neem oil. So I am highly against spraying my yard or garden with any sort of pesticides or chemicals. I want to avoid it at all costs, as should you if you are a good gardener, because if you're a true gardener, you should be caring about your environmental impact. Just my 2 cents on that. But last year was the first year I really noticed I started to struggle with some pests eating my plants. Specifically, I was having a lot of issues with my sweet potato vine. You could just see something was chomping away at those leaves. Neem oil is a great all-purpose organic fungicide to spray your plants with to kill bugs and pests in all stages of life. So if I noticed that any of my plants looked like they had bugs or getting chomped on, I went around my yard and just sprayed neem oil on them. I will say it doesn't smell the most pleasant, but it definitely seemed to help curb the problem. And you can also use it on houseplants. If you just spray a little bit on a cloth, wipe it on the leaves of any larger houseplants. I did this with my fiddle leaf fig. It gives them like a really nice like glossed finish, and it also helps repel dust, which I thought was really nice. So neem oil is definitely the way to go for an all-purpose organic bug killer and fungicide. Next, I'm going to talk about this little shrub rake. So I never thought this tiny little rake would make much of a difference to my garden cleanup process, but boy, do I use this thing all the time, and I grab for it more than any other of my raking tools. The petite size of the rake itself makes it perfect for getting underneath all sorts of shrubs and bushes and smaller trees that are more compact. It's just so much less cumbersome than using the large traditional rake, and you don't feel like you're like beating the heck out of the plant while you're raking under it as well. And it just like feels so much easier to use than a large traditional rake. So we have made it through our 10 items, but I have a bonus I want to talk about for number 11, and that is going to be a Roto Tiller. So this is going to be definitely the priciest thing on the list. Depending on what your scope of work looks like for whatever projects you're doing in your garden or landscape, this could definitely be a good investment for you. It's not a complete necessity if you have plans to create a new garden bed, but it is going to make the process go by much faster, be so much less strenuous on your body. This one here is probably one of the cheapest rototillers on the market, but it gets the job done. I've had it now for about a year. I've used it for multiple projects already. Specifically in my yard, since it's very shaded, I have a ton of root systems all throughout my yard in the soil. When possible, I try to do the no-dig cardboard method. I know I've shared that a little bit here on my channel. It's going to break up old established roots under there, break up all of that condensed soil, clay, rocks, like if you have soil similar to mine, and basically give any of those larger shrubs, plants, or trees that you're trying to plant in a new spot a better chance at establishing themselves. So like I said, depending on your scope of work, and the price of this rototiller really isn't too bad. This might be worth it for you. All right, you guys, that is gonna do it for my top 10 gardening essentials from Amazon. I am going to have all of these things linked down below in the description box. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I would also love to hear from you guys what is a tool that I maybe didn't mention that you highly recommend. Put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if you found this video helpful or informative in any way, I would love if you could please give it a nice big thumbs up. And if you are into gardening content, and specifically woodland gardening and shade gardening, I would love for you to consider subscribing to my channel. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye!